Right. Yeah, sorry about this. Have to get started. Okay, let's go to my slides. How you all already got the assignment, no? I've already posted it up on Elite and recording on money matters in contract. Have you all went through it? You have, huh? It's not a very smooth day for me. Wait a minute. It's like everything seems to be going a bit of haywire here and there. Must be April's Fool, huh? Yeah. Our order didn't came, and then so we're late. Then I come home, some stuff to settle. Now I can't find my notes. So well. Found it. Okay. Hopefully it's gonna be smooth from now on. Ready? Let's get started. Okay, so we've went through the time. Okay, so I think a lot of people. I've also revamped the notes a little bit, just to add in other parts as well to make it clearer, especially on possession of site and start date and how important start date is before we talk about completion. So we went through that. So we talk about mobilization. I mean, we talk about signing of contract, letter of award. Then you need to sign because legally there is an intention to create that legal relationship. You see, so without that intention, like let's say if you don't sign a contract documents, you don't have that intention to create a legal relation. So you may not have a contract in the first place. So when you don't have a contract in the first place, it actually means that there's nothing for you to there's no commitment, there's nothing for you to fulfill, as part of the contract. So signing is a very important step. Forming the contract, signing it is very important. And after that, we will have a possession of site. So meaning that you need to give the site. Okay, I mean this is applicable mainly for construction now. For people who are in construction, for example, mechanical people, same, and electrical people, you guys are the same. You are working based on project and by project basis as well. But in terms of production and manufacturing, I'm not really sure what possession of site actually fit into lah. But I suppose it will have to be an indication of the actual start date for the contract. I think that will probably be one of the ways that people would use to actually define that terms of possession of site. You see, but there must be a confirmed mark, a point marking that this is a start date, and that usually means that for construction it would be the possession of site. You see, and then there will be mobilization, informing on mobilization, yeah. And then we move on to completion towards the end, defect liability period. Then we also talk about full completion, meaning that everything is done, yeah. And if you don't fulfill the time, if you're not being given extension of time, there's some reasons that qualify for extension of time, some reasons don't, and there are some analysis that can be done for extension of time. But this analysis is pretty much based on what your company or what is the policy of the company. For example, in giving extension of time. It's pretty much based in the contract, you see. So if your company has this policy of you don't pay certain events, then that when you sign that contract is already there, stated very clearly. So most contract for in engineering, we will state down the reason that it's qualified for extension of time. There should be a procedures for the application of extension of time. And then if you're not being granted extension of time due to reason that is non-compensable and non-excusable, or it could be because of it's not on a critical path, or it's not a parallel, it is not a concurrent. I mean, it is a concurrent event. So then that particular application is being put aside or rejected, and then you still have to proceed like normal to complete the job, see? So at the end of the day, if you don't get extension of time due to various reasons, like I said, the other way is there's a proper analysis. You know, the analysis itself would usually, there is very standard analysis of extension of time, but that is not really being it is not really being widely practiced in that sense, because mostly we will ask the project team themselves to actually assess it, and there's always the company's procedures for assessing extension of time, which anyone who signed a contract with that particular company have to adhere to that particular contract, you see. So it doesn't matter if there's some theoretical way of studying extension of time, analyze extension of time and granting of extension of time, but in the end, it is still a policy that is being made in your contract for your company. So that should be the priority that we will look at, you see. So that's why when we come contract is for example, if we actually become a checker for the contract, or we are say the mediator or arbitrator, we would usually have to take out the whole documents and go through the whole contract documents, because that is relative to the project, that is relative to your case, you see, it's relative to the contract that you sign. So yes, so there's no such thing as a standard way. There is, but then yeah, it would be adopted from the standard way, but it is not necessarily applicable to your organization in that sense. So then we finish up with saying that if you don't get EOT, you will be penalized, and that penalty is going to be called liquidated ascertained damage. There's many type of remedies. Remedies in contract means that if you've done something wrong, what is the when you do something, when you don't fulfill your responsibilities in the contract, there are some way to improve the situation or to rectify the situation from the person who has done wrong, see. So there may be termination is one of them, repair, redo, rework, so these are all part of remedies. Liquidated ascertained damage, damages, injunctions, all these are all part possibility of remedies. So for late payment, for delays, the remedies will usually be liquidated ascertained damage, meaning that you change your losses. There is already a value calculated on a per day, on a time basis, per month, per day, per week basis, that if you don't fulfill that particular time, you'll be penalized according to this amount of money. So there is a conversion from the day lost to the dollars and cents, you see. That is what we mean by liquidated ascertained damage, LAD. So when you're being charged LAD, you've got to pay. You see, the contractor needs to pay. And it doesn't matter that the contract, you don't really penalize the contractor at the end of the day, at the end of the contract. You already take out upon the day that you delayed, let's say 31st of March, today is the 1st of April. So from your contract ends on 31st of March, and we're supposed to, you're still working because you are in delay. So from 1st of March onwards, regardless of whether you have extension of time or not, it is very automatic for a client to deduct off any LID, and at most LID clauses will be applicable immediately upon delay. So there's no such thing as let us finish a job, then we calculate how much we owe you, extension of time minus up and down. We don't do that. It will be immediately once you are in delay. Every day count as a delay until you sort out the extension of time. So the LID will be applicable from day one that you have a delay. So if it's $2,000 per day, if up until 15th of April, you're still working on the project and you still haven't get your CPC, it will means that that particular month, the payment will have like $1,000. Let's say the penalty is $1,000 a day. So you will have 15 days. So that would mean 15K will be deducted off your next payment immediately. See, so they will return it to you if extension of time is given, but they will cut it out first. So that is quite normal. That is quite normal kind of practice when there's a clause under LID. Right, and then we also move on to payment, which is in the recording, and we talk about different terms that we use in payment, such as payment claim, interim payment claim, or progressive payment claim, or we would put in claim can come in a formal way of format, certain format that is being required from the builder or the service provider. It can also be in the form of an invoice. I think for most manufacturing, you'll be basing it on invoice. I would say PO first, purchase order, and then after that, purchase order means that you issue a purchase order. So that is almost like a letter of intent, or like a contract. So when you issue the purchase order, it means that you want to. So usually the date of the purchase order will usually be start of the particular contract. So that is what most people would define it as lah. I give you the purchase order, so from today onwards, you need to prepare me the production or the material or something like that. So then deliver it to my site in 15 days or in 3 days or in 4 days or in 5 days. So that is the normal way of looking at manufacturing based kind of company lah. So what we need to do is they will come up with a purchase order. That will be the same as a claim. It's almost the same as a claim. A claim means that you have to put in a formal request for money, and that is usually in a format that's already been confirmed by the client side that they want you to claim in this kind of format. So usually it doesn't run away from the original BQ, and then times what is planned and what is the current progress times with the what is the total times with the current progress. If it's 30%, you want to claim 30% of the money, for example. So we work on that basis, so there will be a column that says that the original amount, the total amount for that particular activity, and then there will be this third column. First column will usually be the activity, and then the amount, and then the rate, and then the amount, or the quantity, rate, amount. So it's like the original contract has the quantity, rate, and amount. So with that, you put everything in, or you only put in the amount. Then you have another column on percentage of work completion or percentage of work done. Then you times it, and then you work out on your sum to be claimed. And then when you rip it down all the way, it will be adding everything up, or adding all the subtotals out, and then you add in plus, so you deduct the retention sum. If you need a performance bond, you deduct the performance bond, the retention sum, and then that would be the amount that is due to you. So if there's a deduction in LID, that will be deducted off right then and there. Retention sum, we also cover retention sum in the recording. What is retention sum? What is performance bond? What is payment bond? And then we also cover, so this is the claim, and with the claim, there'll be a certificate. It's called payment certificate, which is prepared by the assessor of the claim, which is usually the SO. SO is superintending officers, or the contract manager, or the engineers, or the architect, okay? Or the QSs, yeah. So what we do is we will access it, and then we'll create a payment certificate. And the payment certificate is that, okay, you asked me for this amount of money, I'm now going to pay you. You deserve this amount. So then the builder and service provider need to confirm on the amount that is being assessed by the assessor. So once they confirm, this payment certificate will go to the client's office, and the client's office will do their checking and everything, and then prepare to pay in a certain amount of time. So 30 days, for example. The biggest issue with money, of course, is dealing with payment. That can be late sometimes. Late payment is very, very common. I wouldn't know about the rest of the world, but in Malaysia, late payment can be as much as even 6 months sometimes. And it's actually quite bad if it's 6 months, you see. So even if we have a late payment of 60 days, I think it would be quite unhealthy already of the project. It also shows the reputation of the company, the goodwill of the company who is paying, you see. Either they are very inefficient, or they are just not the kind of paying type of people, which means these are not very good clients. So we do not want to work with people who just drag on the payment purposely for no other reason except for they don't like paying people, you see, or they have very bad cash flow. And bad cash flow, if they talk to you and try to make you understand or ask you for extra time for payment, I think that is very professional. But if they just don't pay you, they drag everything on until 6 months later or 5 months later, and then you have to keep on chasing payment. I think that is a very, very stressful thing. So we actually discussed about that in the recording as well, the issues that we all need to deal with as engineers, especially with late payment, underpayment, meaning that they don't pay you according to the amount that you claim, or a lot under. It's not only like what usually when you assess claims, if you talk about a 10% or 15% kind of difference with the claim itself, the assessment with the claim itself, if there's a difference between 5 to 15%, I think it's quite reasonable, you see. But if you talk about a complete assessment that is like you claim for 100,000, they say that you only deserve 30K, I mean, that is a bit ridiculous. You wouldn't be able to accept that, you see. Or you claim for 1 million, they're going to pay you 500,000. So there must be a reason for that. See, if the reason is just simply because of because we just want to pay you less, that one is not right, you see. Like I say, that could only means that the company is not able to pay because of financial constraint, financial reasons. That means we have to be very alert that they are not in a very healthy shape, you see, and we have to really keep our eyes open. And there are some people who just don't like paying people, like when money goes out of their pocket, they feel very painful, maybe. I'm not sure, you see. And then the other reason could be inefficiency of the staff, meaning that their accountant team, their finance team, the team of people doing the accounts and their system or whatever is not efficient at all. Meaning that they cannot assess things quite quick enough, they cannot issue payment quick enough. That really means that the company has some form of management issue. It could be a finance management issue, it could be the finance section, it could be the HR section, it could be the technical section. There must be something wrong with company who is not paying, not paying people on time and within the amount of claim that is being given. The worst is when the assessment comes in 1 million, but they only pay you 500,000. That is very, very unhealthy. So you need to find out why, you see. So I think normally, like I said, that is always a very good indicator. Late in payment, non-payment, and delay payment, and also underpayment. These are all very good indication that that particular organization is actually not in a healthy state. Okay, and that is something for all service provider and contractors and builders to be aware of, in case there may be a chance that they go bankrupt or something like that. So it could also mean that their cash flow, they're overcommitted and their cash flow are not healthy. These are some of the reasons. Like I said, it could be very bad management system in their company. But if it's just for the reason that they don't like paying people, they want to drag your payment purposely, or because they have some their money are in the bank, sitting there collecting interest, and they just don't want to pay you. I think these sort of people don't have very good reputation as well. and these are the clients that you completely have to think twice next time. Yeah. And of course, like I say, for most government agencies, it's usually the assessments and also the inefficiency of the people inside there. I mean, like I'm very honest. I know a lot of you come from government agencies, like JKR, JBUB and all that. You should know, like some of your account people are really not working very tightly, they're not doing so well. I mean, that they're not being, they take their time, you see, and as engineering team, sometimes we've already done our assessments and we send it over to the finance people. The finance say, oh, we're so busy, there's so many things that we're supposed to do. Or now we're doing our salary, or I'm doing another payment or whatever. It could be short staff, it could be just them being very, very inefficient. I mean, it annoys me sometimes, I mean, it happens. So I kind of like be very straightforward, I mean, like we also have our accounting systems in university is also sometimes very, very headache. You want to request for invoice, it takes them 3 days to produce an invoice, or how? I don't know why, it baffles me, So are they really so short of stuff, And when we collect payment, they don't, and when the payment comes in, they also don't know that the payment comes in. There's sort of an inefficiency in the system, which I think can be actually corrected quite easily, but unfortunately it has become a habit, to take the time, in a lot of government or government semi-linked company. Why do I say that? Because I'm not saying this without proof, because we've done some study 2 years ago on payment, and it was a statewide data collection from all the consultant and contractor. So we have about 100 plus contractor, 180, 60 plus contractor, 180 plus of consultant, sitting down there to do these sort of surveys. And we really see that from the highest will come from private, but then it does not mean that the government agency are paying people on time, and there are problem with underpayment from government agency and also government linked company as well. So it is a problem there. So there is proof that there is this sort of problem underlying in the industry about payment. Okay, so again, I think we will also talking. I am a bit confused because after I talked to you guys on Saturday, I had another class on Sunday. They were also asking me on money matters. And suddenly I don't remember if I spoke to them on that or I spoke to you guys on this. I remember very clearly that you guys were asking me about the signing of contract. So I would assume that the money issue actually came from my civil engineering management, project management class. So they were asking me about how you guys were asking me about time, They were asking me about money. It was also a contractual problem. Yeah, it actually was a contractual problem. It's about how when a payment is not made, oh yeah, they were asking about if the payment is not made, if there's late payment and all that. How would that how can the contractor side, do, in that sense, what can they do in terms of finance, So I was telling them that late payment, underpayment, these are actually, it's very sad to say that it is almost like it will surely happen. There is no such thing as if it will happen. It's almost like it will happen in every single project. So we're talking about, oh yeah, the question was, if they don't get payment, what about their subcontractor? They have to pay the subcontractor. The subcontractor would not allow them to pay. Not pay. So they are having this kind of issues in the company. So they said they don't receive payment from the clients, then or the late payment, didn't come, the payment didn't come on time, and they were late, and they still have to pay the subcontractor, for example. And yeah, so I was telling them that, same thing apply with money, with you all in terms of payment, in terms of running the contract. it is very important that we, as a contractor firm or as a service provider, no matter whether you reduce, whether you get money from your client or there is a delay in payment or there's an underpayment whatsoever, unless you have a back-to-back contract with the subcontractor, means that if you don't receive money, they don't get money. If they agree to that, you mitigate your risk that way, then congratulations, you have a very good subcontractor that backs you up or support you. So that is a very good business partner that you have there, you see. It's a business partnering firm that you have there, which really helps your cash flow. But generally, we must disregard the fact that we are not being paid. Because for you all to be standing in the business world, to have a good reputation in terms of dollars and cents and money, it's very important that you pay your subcontractor and you pay your supplier on time, because that builds that relationship. If you have one client not paying you, but then if you stop paying your subcontractor or your supplier, then in the future, a lot of projects also, people don't trust you anymore. They would not want to supply or work with you anymore. So in a way, your days in the industry is up. It's outnumbered. It's already numbered. It's definitely numbered, meaning that you are going towards the end already. So it's very important that we pay our staff, we pay our team, we pay our supplier, we pay our subcontractor. It means your integrity as a firm. It is your goodwill as a firm. So we are not only one time off, that client don't pay us, then we don't pay our subcontractor and then end up making all the enemies with them. And then in the industry, nobody wants to supply you anything because the industry is very small. Usually all the industry, it looks big, but it's actually a very small amount of people, you see. So next time, nobody wants to supply you any goods and services. Nobody wants to supply you with any work, any machineries. They don't want to supply you with anything anymore, So if you have a new project coming up, you have issues of manpower, you have issues of cash flow, because people don't want to give you time. They will say that, why don't you pay me first? Otherwise, you don't pay, I don't send my material to your site. So we will have issues like that. So then the other thing is, how do you manage through finance, this late payment and underpayment? Be sure that you need to put in, the pricing cannot be too low. Many young engineers who embark onto service provider, embark onto a business in construction and all that, they are being too ambitious. They take up very big projects without understanding how badly the cash flow can be if you are only depending on your client to pay you and then you pay people. So I can almost guarantee you that there will be late payment, there will be underpayment, there will even be non-payment in some cases. Not a lot, but there will be. So you must not be so optimistic in committing yourself into a huge project without the sufficient cash flow. You have to be cash rich, as a service provider or a contractor. Otherwise, if you're just thinking that, I'm getting ready 10% of my cost, and then after that, everything else I depend on the client to pay me and I'll pay people. You can't function like that. Okay. So number one, make sure that you pay people. It's very important. Keep your company's goodwill and good reputation up. Don't think about other people's company. Don't think about the clients not keeping up their goodwill. That is their problem, You have the mouth, you can always go and badmouth them in that sense, So yeah, so their reputation will be intact. Nobody will ever want to work with them. There are many contractors in the industry there are many clients, in the industry that we don't want to work with them. Even if they send out tender, we don't want to work with them. We don't want to go and tender for their project because they are so famous for having a bad reputation. They don't pay people or they're late in payment. So we don't want that. We don't want to work with them. Same goes, you see. In this supply chain, you keep your good reputation. That's how you deal with payment. And that's how you deal with late payment. Get ready enough of cash. Make sure that you calculate your financial cash flow of your company very clearly before you embark onto particular project. You need to get ready enough of cash supply, for you to pay your own people. See? So then the other thing is you must read the contract very carefully. What is it in there? You must read your LAD clauses very carefully so that you don't get penalized. People don't rip you off, because of contract. So that is another part, the role that you have to play. What rights do you have if there's late payment? What rights do you have if there's an underpayment? What rights do you have if there is non-payment? What can you do? These are the things that you can really find out from your contract. Okay, all right. So having to say that, we are also the other component. What else? We talk about payment certificate and all that, late payment, underpayment, payment issues, and then we also talk about provisional sum, prime cost sum. These are the different type of names that you hear from the in a contract, so you should know what it means, And then change order. I'm not sure when change order is something that we can cover in quality, we can cover in time, we can also cover in cost, because it basically involves everything. When there's a change order, it will usually means that something are not complying to something, okay? Or you want to change the original material or original design or the original system or processes. So there is something to be changed. So immediately the first stop is you need to know whether the performance or the quality will be affected. So that can be part of quality as well when you have a change order. Then all are calling variation order. And then the other thing is you will also definitely affect money, because when you have a design change or a non-compliance or a repair that is due to non-compliances, or a reward that is due to non-compliances, or there is a non-availability of something in the industry, so you need to change the process, you need to change the material, you need to change the work format. You need to actually be dealing with what has changed. It will be usually marked in terms of dollars and cents. So if there's an additional work or if there's a deduction that comes in after the design change or after the change order, you will see that in dollars and cents. So it has to be agreed, the change order bit with money. It must be agreed by all the parties before the work proceed. And many contractor also, due to the fact that they're already in the project, and it may affect the next stage of the project, or it may affect the next activity of the project. So they proceed to do it without a proper change order or instructions, formal instructions from the client side, or the client representative, the SO, the consultant side. So we have to be very careful when you do that. You are actually putting yourself at risk as well. Saying that if they don't, at the end of the day, they don't give you the change order, or they deduct your money unreasonably. So you've already done the work, you've already paid your workers, you've already paid the materials, and then you don't see the change order. And with the money that they're supposed to pay you, which is supposed to be written in the change order or the VO. And well, that is going to be your problem. Now, I won't say that it's, I mean, like, it's your problem in the sense that why did you go and do it, you see? Obviously, the problem is the client, like people who actually don't give you instructions and expect you to do the work. They're actually out for free ride, you see? So, or it could be due to various reasons. I mean, that is dealing with the client's own organization itself. It may not be the technical personnel, but it could be their own management reasons, that they don't want to pay you. And the engineers also felt very unfortunate, in that sense that, yet you didn't get paid because of their instructions. And so everything in terms of contract, let's try to be formal here. When you give instructions, and if it's dealing with some change order, you need to look at it from the quality aspects, the testing aspects, the reporting aspects. And then after that, you need to look at the money aspects, what is changed and how much is the change, and what is the cost implication, what's the dollars and cents changes in the particular VO. And then you also need to look at the time changes, because when you change a design or when you change a material, or you change the process of something, there is a possibility that time goals may not be fulfilled. Okay, right. So that is change order will be dealing with this 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Okay. Right. Right. So I think what else did we cover in money matters? I think that's all really. Yeah. Did I miss out on anything? Yes. I think that's probably it. So anything that you want to ask me?
Hello.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. It's regarding the second class, the one that you did, that we did, via the recordings that you shared in YouTube, right? Regards of payment. I think there's I have one question based on
Okay.
the final payment, I think, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I was wondering what if during the closing account, right, of the contract, when we want to close the contract and then we realize that there's an overpayment, how can we close the contractually speaking, how can we deal with that? I just wondering lah.
Oh, overpayment. I've never heard of that before, actually. I mean, it rarely happens. I mean, that would be very shocking. It means that the organization who are actually paying, they are not really keeping a good accountancy system in that sense, you know. How?
Yeah, because I heard this is under one of the sharing from my colleagues is it's other government agency punya project lah, not JKR lah. Just to make it clear.
Oh,
Because
okay,
it's something like this. The project have some how to say there's a VO, right? VO additional work for the construction of road in, and then however the VO was supposed to be assessed prior to CPC. However, it's already CPC and now CMGD is also already done. However, the contractor haven't received the payment for the additional work. So how is it possible to close the account?
it is like
The
you need
contract, I mean, yeah, the contract, not the account, yeah.
the final account will be the very end whereby you already passed the deferred liability period. You see?
Yes.
Definitely, you still have to work out on something. If there's an overpayment, you have to get you have to issue some form of payment return order lor. Like ask them to return certain part of the payment to you lor, or but you still have retention sum, or there's a 2.5% retention sum lor. So you maybe
What if the retention sum, I mean the overpayment is more than the retention sum? Then it will be very the one lah. Oh, very difficult.
then the table is being flipped lor. You have to go and ask them for payment back lor.
So it's possible lah, contractually, it's possible for to ask back for the money.
Of course can. They have to pay you back, yeah.
Okay.
They're not supposed to get anything they don't deserve, you see? Yeah. Supposed to be work. I mean, the work done is only this much, you see? But unless they prove to you they have done more lah, and they deserve that. So there's something for you guys to work out on lah, in the sense lah, yeah. How much to pay back and all that lor.
So yeah lah. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Have to sort it out, meaning that because final payment is the final closing, meaning that even though they are being released of their responsibilities and all that, but final payment is the part to close the whole project and whole account. So when you close the project and close the whole account, if there is some form of overpayment, underpayment, or some sort like that, you need to you still need to sort it out. Meaning, if there's underpayment, you still have to pay him back, correct or not? Then if like retention sum, you still need to return. So If
yeah.
it's overpayment, they have to pay you back. So you have to issue some formal request for return or something like that. Yeah.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Unfortunately,
That's all.
your account purpose, you probably cannot close the account until they pay you back. But definitely you can ask for the payment return one. Yeah. Just that how smooth the process will be, it's basically up to the goodwill of the contractor. I mean, sometimes they'll say, oh, your money is in my pocket already. I also take my time, you see. But normally after the final account, because the final account bit is the issuance of, okay, I think the most formal approach that you can do is like this. So at the end of the 12 months or the end of the deferred liability period, normally you will do another inspection. And upon the inspection, you will issue a letter of completion. That is a full completion letter. So it's a letter of completion. So with the letter of completion, it will come with all the payment certificate, the final payment certificate, the final payment claim and all that. So this time, when you do the final, if they come in claim for the 2.5% and then you work out the 2.5% is already being paid and they're already being overpaid in that sense, that should appear in your final payment certificate of sum of money that is overpaid. Okay, so that will be the most formal way of doing it. And then you send them the final payment certificate. They have to sign on that certificate. And if they don't agree, you guys will have to go into a very much of a negotiation mode already. But the account cannot close. The account cannot close until all this is sorted out. Yeah. So does it make sense to you, Jessica?
Yeah. It does.
So use the final payment certificate as the get the money, like an invoice to get a return. So your company may have another type of system, like let's say JKR, they may have a return note or something like that. Return note usually means return of material or something like that, but it can be a return payment, something, that I'm not sure if which organization. I mean, some organization may have it. I don't know what they call it, yeah, but it's a return of something, yeah, payment return form or payment return certificate or something like that. So you request for that through the certificate. So that instead, when they receive the certificate and both sides agree on that certificate, it means that the contractor needs to pay back. Okay.
There's also a case whereby the contractor don't come for, I mean, don't initiate the closing of their like final account. And maybe they've forgotten or something, but this is for like the smaller projects. There's also that issue. I think maybe they don't know about the retention money or they don't care. I'm not sure. But that one is other matters.
Yeah, that one is a problem. But of course, obviously you need to process it. The job of the client side, you have to process it.
Yeah.
Okay, and there is another situation which is quite common that happens in the industry about this overpayment. Like I said, unless it's really unless it's this particular situation whereby there is pretty much of the project is being awarded, and then the contract are not being properly formalized, and then the client side is issuing payment, and you may ask why they want to do it. The answer is due to some under table dealing between the personnel from the client to the contractor. So these are already illegal. This is actually involving the region of corruptions, of money laundering even. Yeah, so these are all already going up to the criminal level. They're using projects to do money laundering kind of thing. Yeah. So this is actually against the law. And remember that a few years back when we have the election, the Pakatan Harapan actually won the election. I mean, it's a very momentous moment in Malaysia. And we are all, very happy that finally some form of changes is coming away. And I think one of the contract, besides the one MDB case that was the hottest that is on the table that day, and besides our dear Mrs. Prime Minister, handbags are all pasted all over the newspaper. One of the very big thing that came out was a field project. Okay, a field project that is under the super top secret files that was exposed. One of them was the oil and gas, oil and gas pipeline project, and was in Sabah, I think, or something like that. And there was another one that was was in Terengganu. We remember there was big issue on that particular contract, and there was also some issues on the rail contract, the the Malaysian Singapore rail contract. I think that was the type of contract that it was completely. It's not even PNC. It's literally like top secret. It's like a file that I don't know what color is it, and basically, from my understanding, that there wasn't even a contract in the first place. And then it was just a way of appointing a contractor, and the contractor did not do any single thing. And I think Sarawak at that time, we also had a very big issue on the solar contract, remember? And some of my auditor friends actually went to check there was a big audit on the solar system, because that particular contract was actually awarded by Mr. and Mrs. Prime Minister at that time. And apparently it was a lot of I'll just one very simple example. I think that because if I talk too much, I don't know what happened to me on Monday later. But because we had some auditor friends, that actually did the audit, because of the election and exposure of many different top secret contracts. One of the contracts was actually in Sarawak, and they were doing solar panel for all the schools in Sarawak to provide energy and electricity to schools in Sarawak. And some of my auditor friends actually went to some schools to check on the panel. And the most horrifying shock that we had was some of these places, the money has been paid already, completely paid already. The contract is closed already, but there is no solar panel. And there is not even the road that goes to the school. I mean, they're supposed to build road, go to the school, build solar panel and all that. There was nothing there. So when you ask me about overpayment, these are the first few things that I talk about. I mean, that actually hits my mind, you see. But that is a complete different story from normal situation, like what we are dealing with day to day with different projects and all that. I think there was this oil and gas project also. I think not oil and gas, it's a pipeline oil and gas. I think it was in Terengganu, if I'm not wrong, or that side, or in Sabah, or that side. I don't remember which side, but it was also something like that. The payment was actually made in
I think it's in Sabah, Doctor.
Yeah, Sabah, yeah. Okay, yeah, it was yeah. So then the payment was made, correct or not? And there was no payment was made in stages.
I think it's the payment, if not mistaken, is already paid for 80% like that, but no work done on site. Yeah,
it was like the payment was actually correlated to percentage, but there's no work done correlated to that percentage. So meaning that supposed to be you get 30% done, then we pay you. It can be, most of our contract is based on progressive plan per annum. Month by month, you do how much, I pay you how much, you see. But this particular contract was actually simply like, okay, at 30%, you get paid how much? At 50%, you get paid how much? When at 75%, you pay how much? So it was like just that, like that payment schedule was just like that, you see. So then all the payment was issued the work done bit is not there. Okay, so that one is a complete embezzlement of money in that sense. Is that would be the word that we will use. So that is a completely different thing from the issues that we're, like, it's also overpayment. Yeah, but this is a different ball game now. But normally case, if there's just an overpayment, I think the sum will not be too big. It would usually be about maybe within about 10% or even less than 15%, I would say. It's probably of the contract sum. If it's 15% of a very big contract, it's quite a lot of money. So I would say that if the job is properly managed, and how could you even have payment overpayment? Even if there's really some overpayment due to certain overlapping of VOs and all that, I think the percentage cannot be more than 5%. So it usually should be by the end of that final payment already, and it's you only detected at that point. I'm very shocked, honestly. I would say that particular organization, you really need to do something about your system between your technical team and your account and your finance team. What happened? How could you have more than 5% of overpayment, and then you only detect it at the final account closing? What about penultimate claim? Don't you supposed to have done it during penultimate claim before you issue that penultimate payment? It should have been sorted out by then. It wouldn't have been sorted out at the very, very end of it, unless something happened during the defect liability period. I wouldn't say additional work or something like that, Otherwise, it doesn't make sense to me. Normally, penultimate payment, you have already cleared everything except for that 2.5%. So, I don't know, Jessica, please, don't want to say bad things, about this sort of organization, but it's really something that you all should watch out for, or whether you are in your at which position that you're in, whether you're client, consultant, or some of you are consultant. A consultant also, you should be assessing the claim professionally. How could you actually allow that? These are not just careless mistake. This is talking about professional ethics already. Yeah.
Because usually the penultimate payment, all the interim payment are not done by only one person. They go it's supposed to go through a lot of from the consultant, from the QSs, and of course the person the officer in charge and all. Yeah, that's why I agree with what you said, doctor.
When it's been verified by so many people, it's that one mistake can be made by so many people. It's very scary, isn't it?
Yeah, meaning to say that someone somewhere maybe they just blindly sign, which is also a big issue lah. Need to be aware of that lah. So
when the site people comes, if there's a mistake, and this and in the office is supposed to be checked by the QS. So if the QS also cannot detect it, site people don't detect it, QS don't detect it, and then later on the consultant site people, if consultant didn't detect it, my gosh, that is already out of they're not doing the job already, And then the client side representative didn't check, man. As client engineer didn't take another look, man. And then the QS didn't really double confirm, man. You realize that this one mistake that is done, but it's going through a whole series of people whom supposed to be professional, whom supposed to be doing their work, and none of them detect the problem. If I'm the boss of that company, I am freaking out. I'm completely freaking out. What kind of people I've engaged, you see? It means that my whole team needs a cleaning up in that sense, Yeah. But like I said, if it's like maybe less than 5%, it could probably be a very overlapping sort of things, that is left, out of the way. But it was a very big overpayment. It just doesn't make sense. Yeah. Okay. I think it's something that as you all are, doing masters, in engineering management, and then you be in that. Your goal is to be in the management position one day, middle to top management position. And many of you will definitely have the ability to be in a top management position. These are the things that you need to be aware of very comprehensively. And as top management, the worst is you take whatever that is being reported to you at face value. You really don't know what exactly is happening. That means that you don't have enough of eyes, enough of ears, enough of method, or enough of process to detect. So it's always the hardest when you're up there on the top where people are not telling you the truth, or when there is inefficiency down there that you cannot see. And then when you can see, you're already in very deep problem. I think as top management, as middle management people, this is something that we really have to be aware of. You really have to have ways. One of the business technique that you must have is to have ways to detect. You must have your own specific way to detect that something is not right. And we cannot depend on instinct all the time. Some of us do have better instinct. You look at a particular claim and you go like, we've been paying them this much amount of money already. The last time I see was already like quite close to the contract sum, and now how come the last payment, we're still paying $500,000? So we're exceeding the contract sum. So then you get your team. Can you come in and check this again? You must have the number one is definitely the instinct, but instinct cannot be dependent on, because that is true experience. If you're young, you probably don't have that kind of experience to detect that. See, so you must have right goalkeeper at every station, for you to be able for them to ring an alarm bell in your head. I think the hardest bit of being a manager or being the chief executive officers or chief finance officer, the higher you get, these are the worst problem that you can see. I mean, these are the worst problem that you can get, that you don't know, you see. I think when you don't know what is the problem, it's the worst. It's worse than there's a problem and you can solve that problem through many ways. It just takes time. Worse is you don't know that that's a problem and you think that everything is fine, your company is fine, and then end up that you have a big negative in your cash flow and you didn't even know that sort of things, you see. Yeah. So, I mean, do you guys agree with me on this? It's always the hardest to detect. Yeah. Problems and issues. I think with management is about how alert we are over certain situation. Over your whole entire company, your whole entire organization, and all the projects that is under your organization. Yeah. It's just like you as a production engineer. You are very clear which machine can do the work, which machine will give you big problems, which machine is not right, or which production line, which part of the production line is usually giving problem. You need to know. If you know the problem, it is okay. But if you don't know that the problem, that you don't even know that there is like a huge amount of defects, that has been coming out, and everybody is telling you, oh, we're fine, we're doing okay, etc., etc., and then later on the bill comes and go like, huh? How come we're paying, we're only making like 100 items, but we actually seems that we're paying for 200 items, Right. Any other questions on money matters and or time that I can help you to sort out? Nickman, how are you, Nickman?
I'm good, doctor. I'm good. Thank you. Everything that you said is ugly truth. You're correct.
You don't have to agree with me if you don't agree, yeah?
I do agree on everything, especially on the payment part. That is considered normal in this industry, especially to get the payment after 6 months. But in my opinion, for Sarawak Energy is a good paymaster, Doctor,
Yeah,
in my opinion.
they also sometimes don't pay on time, isn't it? And that's why a lot of contractors also, they like to do their job. You see, I mean, when you have a good application, normally you do get a lot of people wanting to bid for your job in a sense. That is also a health indicator. I think we must have a health indicator in our management system. Whether your finance side are healthy, whether your HR side is healthy, or whether your technical team are healthy, how well they are progressing and all that. As top management, as people who are in the managerial level, you really need to have a lot of health indicator. It's like we go and do a blood test, there's an indicator on the right hand side there that puts that if it goes over this amount, it will turn out to be red, So if you don't have that health indicator, you don't even know if your number is red or blue or yellow or whatever, you see. So I think it's very important that when you manage a project, when you manage your production line, or when you manage your company to do service providing, you must know, because there is a lot of you must know what health indicator are you implanting into your system. Yeah, that it will alert you as the managerial person, and it may not be something that they know. You see, I mean, like your team may not know that you have that health indicator, but you must have it. It's better that they don't know that you have that flag. It's like a flag that you have, that it will wave at you alone and people cannot see it. Yeah. If you know what I mean, this is like something that, yeah, like for example, testing, if there is when you see the result that there is numbers are always a very good health indicator. Okay. Like the amount of tests done, or the test numbers, or the test limit and all that. That one is usually a bit easier to take a look at, you see. But obviously, if there's many VOs, many changes, many instructions and all that, that would actually be a very good indicator something is not right as well. Many rejection, many defects, I think that would be a health indicator. And so I think the best is to have a regular monitoring. So regular monitoring is very, very important. You must give enough of a gap for regular monitoring of your processes and your projects and all that. That would actually help a lot, I think. And also, say, what else that you can have? Regular reporting. I think regular reporting is also very, very important. Regular visits to the site is also very important. Yeah. I think that is some of the items that you see. I mean, that we not whole lot in that sense. Obviously, having a very specific, clear, discipline system is the first and foremost method that we have in order for you to not have this sort of problem. If your system is very clear that when this particular claim comes, it goes to what and who to verify, and then after that, it has to be double checked with what by another person, and then everybody is very clear about the jobs. And then when you issue, there must be a double checking of something, a triple checking or something. If you have a very specific systems that have very specific people responsible, and there are very specific things that they need to look out for during that particular stage of assessing, I think that would really reduce the potential mistake that you will make, you see. Like very simply, if I say that I want to mix a concrete, so I would say that when the concrete mix is out, when the mixture design is out already, who is the first person to read that mixture design? And what must he or she look out for very clearly? Like there's proper rubrics and proper checklists in that sense. This is part of quality management already, actually, that you need to look into specific criteria or success factors or specific numbers that you are supposed to look at, that you're supposed to be within or cannot be out of certain numbers and all that. So that particular person must have a very clear task description of what he must do when he receives that design mix. And then when the design mix is done, where is it going to go, for example, for keeping? And then if it goes there, if it goes to that person for mixing, for example, so they must sign on it, they must receive it, and what must he do to check, And then after that, when they do the mixture, person who brings a stone must know what, must do what. So the one who measures the water, he must do what, And then from there, they must have do's and don'ts and avoid certain things and all that. So they must be very clear in their tasks. And that tasking systems, I think, is very important for us to reduce errors and detect problems. I think that would be something that in quality management that we want to really design for construction especially. It's a lot easier for manufacturing, a little bit more simple for mechanical and electrical, because the parts that you deal with are very much have a confined space, you see. Like mechanical, you're dealing with that one machine or the system of machine, and so it's in that confined space of that one machine that you have different parts that you need to look up for and check and all that. But for construction, it's very wide. One road can be few kilometers, it can be 60 kilometers, it can be hundreds of kilometers. One building can be like 50 stories, or 30 stories, few blocks, that kind of thing. You build houses, can be 60, 100 houses, 30 houses with parks, with road, with water and all that. So with different parts, you need to really have a very good system to have that health indicator, that considered as health indicator within that particular that system that, when we do quality checks. And it's only through this sort of quality checks, you will know that it will ring a bell when it comes to money and time. It's not the other way around. So it's not like you keep on looking at the cost and we keep on blaming the account people or the finance people in the office, because they are not going there at the site. So the first frontliners, the first people who are the goalkeeper or the gatekeeper or doorkeepers are actually the site people. So if your system on site and their reporting system coming back to the headquarters or the office is not good or not clear, or there are some bugs in it, then if you don't clear up the bugs, whatever receiving end of the account and the finance people will definitely be wrong. Okay, so I think this is something that is interesting for us to look into. I mean, this could be very interesting topics for research project as well. To create specific systems and how to relate these systems to create health indicator systems in project that can actually reflect into cost and time. So if there's an issue with this particular cost, or with this particular design, or with this particular site condition, or with this particular change that needs to be made, how would that be reflected immediately into the costing, and how would that be another indicator for your project team to realize that your project is not in a healthy state, you see, and then needs to be looked into ASAP to find out what is the root problem. People in manufacturing do this a lot better because you're in an enclosed environment. Your factory is in an enclosed environment. So the moment you have a few defects that's a lot more than necessary, you will be very alert already. Or the look of the mixture or whatever that comes out doesn't look right. It can be a visual inspection, or you can have further testing and all that. Immediately you can detect that a lot faster. So to go into the fishbone diagram to look into the root problem can be a lot easier in that sense. Okay, so I think quality is a very, very forefront thing, on site, and many people don't see that. You see, the goals of time, cost, quality comes at the back. You see, we are always concerned about project on time, delays, LAD. You're concerned about payment issues, but how many of us are really looking into the quality in construction or quality in the service providing system that can actually really, if you manage it properly, you may not have that kind of costing issues and time issues in terms of contract. Okay, so let's move on to this. Okay. So yeah, quality in terms of I think for any works, it doesn't have to be. I'm putting the word construction here because, like I said, most of us are sort of related to the construction industry. But honestly, if you're not, please don't feel like I'm actually sidelining you, because I'm not. It's just that I'm a civil engineer, so my tendency, my mouth will be faster than my brain sometimes, and the word construction will pop up before so like it's an instinct, it's like a reflection, my reflective systems, to talk about construction. Yeah. Just remind me if you want to know more about other industries. If I know, I will tell you. Okay. So we have material, methods, machinery, and manpower. These are the 4 very important things for any project to manage, whether you're doing a mechanical engineering project, whether you're building a transmission tower, or you're actually building a power plant system, hydropower plant systems, or you're doing cables or whatever that you need to provide electricities. You need to worry about material, methods, machinery, and manpower. And same goes with manufacturing as well. You don't tell me that you don't worry about material, processes, the methods of processes, the machine, the people, the manpower. Okay, so these are the 4 major substances in any quality management of any product or any project or any services that we are looking at. And with these 4, we want to see how is it being covered in the how is it being covered on site itself. Okay, and then how is that being reflected in the contract? How it's being reflected on site will basically reflect how it will look in the contract itself. Okay, let's go to the contract first. Okay, when we talk about contract related matters, when we talk about clauses that are related to quality related contract matters, we will normally talk about performance of the service provider, or the performance of the builder, or the performance of the suppliers, or the performance of the contractor. So these are the main clauses that we will see within the contract. And this is pretty much on the workmanship aspects and also the methods aspects of the work on site. Okay, like in the field or in the factory. So another part that contract will normally should also cover is material, machinery, and workmanship. And testing and inspection is also very common. Supervision, instructions, and VOs. So I've actually put VOs down here. And other things like pre-contract studies, preliminary studies, pre-contract site visits, information finding, testing that's supposed to be done before the design, or the design, or the approval and submission by the different authority, and setting out, meaning that if it's on the site, you need to set out where is the boundary and all that, topography and all that. Those are quality related matters. Or they will also have a site condition clauses, sometimes making sure that you go and check site condition, or some testing work that's supposed to be done on site before you proceed to tender the job and all that. So if there is a requirement like that in a contract, that means the contractor needs to know what is the situation in the site first before they even quote, or agree, before they even sign a contract, before they even offer to do the job. So if they are not confident with certain site information, and yet they tender for it, and then the job is being awarded to them, and they sign a contract, it's a commitment already. You cannot say that I don't know. I don't know. If it's written there in the contract that you must go for a site visit, or you must do a ball test, or you must do 10 Macintosh top tests, to do it, you see. Or if they say that, all material that comes to the factory must be randomly tested. So you must do that, or they're sending you samples. You must look at what you're supposed to be producing before you understand, before you even commit into the contract. So, related to quality and quality management. So when we talk about quality management, it's the typical tools that we normally do is inspection and testing plan, and we call it QIP, quality inspection plan. And when we come to that stage of already QC, because when we talk about contract, it's more for the job is ongoing already, and we're administering the contract. And when we talk about administering the contract rarely covers like how you should plan your quality, how you should look into the initial design. We don't really talk much about that because that is not under contract administration. Okay, when you talk about contract administration, when the contract itself is for the service provider, the contractor, to come and do the job, and what they're supposed to be behaving, how they're supposed to behave, and what they're supposed to do during the job. It's not before the job, you see. So it's more on QA/QC. So when we talk about contract quality related clauses, you can see most of the clauses are dealing with QA/QC. Yeah, only some very minor one like setting up, like submission of quality plan. These sort of things are part the earlier stages. But even setting up and submission of plan, they usually do that after the contract is being signed already, and there's nothing much we can do in that sense, but to follow the QA/QC systems that's been set up. So you can see that most clauses are actually related more to, if you have attended my last semester's quality management class, you will see that QP, QA, QC, these are the three QMS system, quality management system is there, supposed to be there. So contract belongs more in that level when we're talking about QC, because it's about what the contractor should do, what the client should do, what the designer do, in the event of something not being fulfilled, or quality is not being fulfilled, or there are some issues with quality. You see, it's at that stage whereby it's dealing with when the job is in progress already. So QAQC in Malaysia, we normally are very much sticky to the inspection and testing plan. Okay, manufacturing people, you may have like like electronic manufacturing, all these people may have a specific inspection system that they have. Okay, or they may have a specific goal, that they may have a specific health indicator somewhere implanted that is in their IT systems, or in their AI, or in their artificial intelligence, or their specific program that they have, to ring an alert on inspection on QA/QC. But for other industry, normally there's a lot of things that comes into visual, a lot of things that comes into testing, checking, and all that, the actual checking and all that. So when we talk about our quality inspection plan, it will usually be tied in with things like processes. What is the material to be inspected or tested? What are the activities? What are the activities under the processes? Meaning, what are the works? What are the flow of works? And then we also have procedures for certain activities. How do we handle certain activities? Specific way of very procedure. What are the SOP of handling certain activity? What are the acceptance criteria of which the material or product must meet? I highlighted that because I think that is a good health indicator. okay, to have acceptance criteria or the limit state, and frequency of the inspection, like what I say just now, the gap, like is it twice a day, once a month, or is it every week, or when do we inspect, or is it every other day? You see, you have to do that specific inspection, accordingly. And then definition of the level of inspection, meaning that you must have your criteria, if it meets what means meet, what means don't meet, what means over meeting, what is means over and above the standard, what is means too bad, the standards are really bad. So these are all the fundamentals that we will put into our QA/QC, our ITP or our QIP, quality inspection plans and all that. And I have to say that, yeah. So these are the things that is in JKR Malaysia's ITP. So we want to see how is this ITP being reflected, because you can see that everything on site, the actual work and physical activity, will have a reflection of it in the contract, supposedly. Or the contract itself will actually address some of the issues with the physical work on site. So then we'll take a look at this quality-related matter. So when we talk about contractors' performance, so we talk about contractors normally should finish the work. What are the works that has to be done, that is being set up? What are the services that they need to provide? What are the final product that they're looking at to provide to the client? So that will always be in the form of work matter statement, service and specification, drawings, bills, and quantities. And you will see that the limit in the contract will actually, the limitation in the contract is, it doesn't really say what is supposed to be in the sort of things very clearly, but most contract will have that you need to submit statement of works. Most contract will mention about the service and specifications. Most contract will mention drawings, bills of quantity. They will say according to the bills of quantity, according to the drawings. So it refers to that particular section, It's not in the contract itself, but when they make a reference, it's like a cross-reference document. So your contract documents, whenever you have a contract document, you must be very clear when you're drafting the contract document. It must be cross-reference it, overlap it, or interlink it with this sort of documents. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. It's like, what are you talking about? It must be according, the work process must be according, the contractor's performance must be according to this. Then say, what is this? Then you have no attachment, nothing, no specific drawing numbers and all that. Then it doesn't make sense. The cross-reference doesn't work that way. So it has to be very clearly the particular documents, the particular items that they're supposed to follow is being listed very carefully in the contract itself, so that it is a wholesome piece of documents. When you sign it, it's like you've got the drawings, you've got the bills of quantity, you've got the specification, you've got the work matter statement, you've got the quality plan, you've got the ITP, you've got the contract, and then all these documents are supporting one another. None of these documents are trying to pull the chair out of the other document. Like this document says this, the other one says that. What do I mean by pull the chair out? You know what I mean by pull the chair out? When you want to sit down, somebody pull the chair out from you at behind. So it's like a shocking big spot on the floor because you realize that somebody's playing a trick on you. This is something like that. When your drawing says one thing, your specification says one thing, your contract says one thing, and then it ends up to be a whole pot of mess, you see? And then you don't know what to follow. So that could be a very big issue that you must try to avoid. So all these documents must be interlinked very carefully with the contract. So the contractor's performance must be meeting this expectation that is being stated in all these documents, actually. And then the contractors are always being asked to provide adequate supervision. One of their work is not only to meet the schedule, meet the budget, do the work, deliver the product. They are expected to manage their team, manage their staff, manage their subcontractors, manage their suppliers, manage their workmen, employees, their head office, their site office, and all that. So normally, anything wrong with these people under them is the contractor's problem. Yeah, it's their fault, and they will have an issue with it. Okay. And then so yes, you also sometimes a lot of contract needs to be interlinked with also standards, practices, methods, and common standards, common industry standards. So not only whatever that is stated within the contract with respect to quality, do remember that there is reasonableness in the industry standards, meaning that if it's not stated in the contract carefully that you want to have like certain level of quality, let's say you want to have a roof, that is made by specifically certain manufacturer. So when the contractor provide or the service provider provide you with certain items that you may not like, but it is part of the contract. It fulfills the requirement, okay, in the contract. Or if it's not stated what is the requirement in a contract, then normally it's common standards and practices that will apply, meaning that industry standard will apply. So you would not be able to say, I pay for this and I'm going to get a lot more when I change my mind later. So there must be reasonableness in the practices, reasonableness in the requirement, and also reasonableness is always relative to your own project. But common standards like CRIM, ISO, and all that, and also authority requirements, standards of the authority. Authority means it could be a council, it could be your local government, it could also be your water authority or your drainage authority. These people that, the government agency that are in charge, their practices also will actually be used to measure your work performance as well. Yeah, so it doesn't have to be all stated, but there are some that goes without saying, and that means the industry standard. So you're supposed to work diligently, you're supposed to be furnishing all the necessary material, machinery, tools, and all that. Then these are common things that we will put in there. Contractors' performance and what do you want them to do and look out for. That one will be part of the contract. Okay. Actually, if you are required to write your own contract, these are the points in the contract that you must include, and this is what I will try to cover, with you all in that sense. So they must have enough of qualifications to do the work. You can state there that they are supposed to submit their financial report for 2022, or the past 3 years financial report, or you can ask them to submit their what else? You can also ask them to submit their bank financial statement, their company profile, their UPK form, the license that they have, because in the license that they have, they will also state there how many staff they have, how many machineries they have, how many engineers they have, how many QSs they have, and all that. So you can request a supplier like that. You can request for their company performance, their product complaints, statistics and all that, or you can request for some statistic from them to show their health, their product or the company the health level in that sense. So you must understand the ability of your service provider and your contractor to perform. So part of the contract can state that you need documents like that for assessments, okay? And contractor must, when they do something wrong, or when they don't meet certain requirements, they must be able to rectify it by themselves. So unless that particular unsatisfactory performance is actually from the problems with the drawings or the problem with the latent conditions on site, then that is another ball game. And that is another level of assessments. That's probably another change orders or instructions to change design and all that. So basically, we don't want contractor to be lazy. We don't want contractor to not perform accordingly. We don't want contractor to appear on site one day and tomorrow go home and then come again next week. So that diligence, that ability to perform is very important. So you can state that in the contract that this is required of you. okay, or from your project or from your supplier or from your service provider. Okay, and yeah. So you are the client. If you're the client, you can put that in a contract. So it must be reasonable, obviously. So like I said, there are certain reasonableness in terms of industry standard or the reasonable satisfaction according to the contract documents, or which items are stated, which items are not stated, then you have to refer to industry standards or the code, design practices even. Right. Another thing that contract will usually want is for the contractor to provide the work method statement. Even if you work for a concrete batching plant, like let's say QC Concrete or Paragon Concrete or steel mill factory and all that, there will always be SOP. Work method statements are SOP. Manufacturing usually call it SOP, but work method usually we call this work method, the processes of how you want to carry out the job. We work on what activity, we call it the method statement. So in the contract itself, you will normally ask the service provider, the builders or the contractors to actually provide us with the work method statement or the see whether it's following it has any problem that may cause quality issues later. So this is the part that sometimes we say, oh, we give you our quality plan, like our quality management plan, and quality management plan is a bit different from work method statement. Work method statement is part of quality management plan, it is part of the 2P. So you must not limit your QP to work method statement, but work method statement should be part of the 2P. If the contract requires you to submit a work method statement, you must do a proper work method statement with the flow chart, with the workflow, with the which section needs testing, and which sections, if the testing report comes back to be not so good, what do you do about that? So it's all written in the contract. So normally we will get the service provider and the contractors to provide us with the work method statement. And in the work method statement, it will have all the SOP and all the procedures that you're supposed to use to do the work. See, when you want to dig a hole, what do you do? What machinery do you use? What sort of broom? What sort of bucket size? And then after that, when you dig, what do you do with it? When you cover up, you use new soil, new sand. Do you do compaction? How do you compact? All the work, physical, practical. Work method and SOP, they are practical steps to complete the work activity, and this will be part of your quality plan that you're supposed to submit. Most contracts don't say quality plan, but they say work method statement. And then that is where the impression goes wrong, that they think that work method statement is the quality plan. Now, some company actually separate these two. They say, give me a work method statement, give me a quality management plan. And that confused a lot of people. It's actually a big document. QMP is actually one big document that has the work method as part of it. But you need to know that it is being requested for most of the time. Okay, you are supposed to request for it, put it this way, because if it's written in a contract that you're supposed to submit your work method statement after your mobilization or before your mobilization, you submit for approval purpose. And usually when they approve you, they will not be held responsible for the approval. That is what normally the contract will say, meaning that the client agree with your method. They agree, but if let's say something goes wrong, it's not their problem, it's your problem. That is what the contract usually would say. Okay. And your work method statement should have all these elements, okay, that is putting here. Description of the activity, description of the work, how you do the work, and what are the acceptance criteria, the boundaries, the limits, and all that. And plant, material, equipment, what are the procedures for the work, what are the material that is needed for the work, and how do you look at the material, whether they are good or not, all the acceptance criteria. And if you finish it, you need to do a testing, commissioning, and how do you do the testing and commissioning? So you've got to write it in a whole report. And many of us, because we are in the same company for many years and also doing the similar jobs for many years, we use our work work method all the time. I mean, I've written some work method in my life before, and then you find it so funny that that company will actually still use the work method statement that I wrote many years back, but with some additional improvements. So it isn't to write work method statement. In fact, after you write it once, then the rest is probably pretty much copy and paste. But when you copy and paste, you have to be careful. Some parts are not relevant, some parts are relevant, some parts needs additional information depending on the project, relative to the project. Okay. Yeah, training procedures, temporary work designs, emergency procedures, etc. So this is what your work method statement would usually say. And with regards to material and manpower and machinery, most contract, I would say, they will ask the contractor to provide them with their manpower and machinery list, meaning that what is your supervision team? Give them the information of your supervision team. And then that supervision team must have enough of, there must be somebody as a point of reference to receive instructions and to follow up on instructions and to communicate with the head office. So that is what we call a contractor's representative. And they will also want a manpower list, meaning that how many people are you putting on site? Meaning this is more like your resources list. And then they will also ask for your licenses. For example, the manpower licenses, if these are the concreter or they are the bar benders, do they have license? If they have license, where are the certificates? And you need to produce a certificate. If they're man layers, water man layers, they need to provide you with water man layers. Okay. I'm finding myself talking in a very slow, sleepy way. I hope that you are not falling asleep. Because my brain is ticking. So my brain is actually ticking a lot faster, you see, and I'm trying to slow down. I'm trying to catch the thing that I'm thinking, and putting it in words. So actually, I'm trying my best to slow my words. So when I'm trying to slow my words, I sound very monotonous. I'm actually putting myself to sleep here, I don't know why. I mean, like, I don't want to be too excited, if I talk too excitedly, then I'll talk very fast, then I'll be zooming through a lot of things. So I don't want that. But my brain is thinking about a lot of these things, and it's so fast that I'm trying to talk slowly to overcome some speed problem. Yeah, so I guess you're okay. Are you still alive? Or you've been falling asleep on the other side? Get yourself a coffee if you need to. Right. Okay. And yeah, so we could put that in the contract to ask for their resources, their manpower, like how many bar benders are they coming in with, how many computers are they coming in with, how many gangs are they coming in with, and what does that gang comprises of, and what are the training. Will not ask for the education level, but definitely will ask for their training, especially some very specific work like welders, like man layers, like maybe bar benders, they may need to be specifically trained in some way, or some occupational and health and safety officers, their certificate from NIOSH and DOSH and all that. So we can ask for that, see? And why do we ask for that? Because we want to check whether you are actually bringing in people that are qualified. Even though that people that are qualified does not ensure 100% the quality of the work that you're supposed to come up with, but it will at least be about, you'll be more comfortable, if they are qualified, correct or not? Even though they're very good, that they're very good, but to have these qualifications, it does make you a little bit more confident in the team. Does not mean that people having qualification are good at their work. It does not mean that people with the certificates are actually they know exactly what they're doing and to ensure the project success. But at least, we have some peace of mind that it shouldn't be that bad. So use it as a standard, like a guideline, but it's not the ultimate. And of course, we want to have the site contractors representative to be good people, to be able to communicate with everybody, to be able to have good interpersonal relationship skills. So when we send engineers to site to work in site, we normally would choose people who can talk and people who can actually entertain, know how to entertain other people, know how to find ways of creative ways of interpersonal relationship skills. If you can't get A, if you want A, but route A doesn't get you A, you will know how to change to route B, so you don't give up that easily, when you want to negotiate with your client's engineer SCA or your SO representative, this sort of things. Yeah. So these are people and things that we want to put on our site. So labor, of course, there is two parts. One is the supervision team, and with supervision team, we want to have very good people to be able to lead the project and manage the project on site and communicate very well with the contractors representative or the SO representative. That is quite normal. All right, and then we have the labor people. Like I said, I've already covered this. Like you need to know the their skills, their ability, and all that. With labor and machineries, there will be contract clauses that is talking about fulfillment of the law of the country. For example, the labor ordinances, the wage regulations. So you cannot engage people and pay them less than a minimum salary, for example. That's against the law. You cannot not pay your workers OT. That is against the law. Okay. You must have off day. For example, you work 5.5 days, or you work 6 days on site. Sunday is a holiday, or Monday is a holiday. So you must have enough of that, rest, and that is part of labor ordinances, part of wage requirements, the minimum wages and all that. And yeah, so in most contract, you will see that, wage and also how to manage your staff, the labor team is actually according to the law of Malaysia, the ordinances, for example, or the acts, or the state. Yeah. And some state, they allow foreign labor. Some state, they don't encourage foreign labors. They have specific rules on foreign labor. So again, that is also part and parcel of the country's rule pertaining to contract about the workers that you're going to engage on site. So if you can't get foreign local laborers, you want to use foreign laborers, and how do you bring them to site? And are they legal? Are you paying their levies? Are you paying taxes? Are you paying the right? Are you paying the correct amount of taxes to bring foreign laborers into the country? Are you giving them enough of work? What is that? Accommodation and wages and all that. So there are laws. So these are the things that contract will normally cover as well within a contract. So you need to read that, if you are in charge of the site and all that. So if you're not, then you have a lot of foreign laborers that they're not even licensed, or they are actually not on your list of workers insurance and all that. You have a lot of problem, and there may be foreign department that comes in and raid you, and then you have a lot of illegal foreign workers, and then the next thing you know, you'll be sitting in jail, because you have engaged illegal foreign workers. Yeah, so contract must really point out that to the service provider and also the builders as well. Very important, to remind them that you have to follow the rules, the regulations, and the law of Malaysia. Okay, and what else? Okay. Safety. Is a very big portion now. Very big issues on safety. Is a very big part of projects now. Very big part of any industry, whether in chemical, whether you're on oil and gas platforms, or whether you're in construction site, whether you're in a factory, whether you're building transmission tower. It doesn't matter. Safety is a law, OHS law, that you have to have good practices and demonstrate that you're giving enough of safety measures and safety equipments to others, and protect your workers from any dangerous activities. So and how do you compensate them if there's a problem, and how do you compensate them if they are injured or hurt or whatever. So every contract now, I would say almost all contract will have some form of safety requirement. They will put down there that you need to provide all necessary safety measures and practice measures and also equipment for the project and the workers involved in the project. So they may not list down that you must provide the safety jacket, the blinking light. No, but they will say please provide. It's a must for contractor to furnish with the plan, safety plan, for example. I'm pretty sure after you go through this, you know how to write a contract as well, because you know what to cover. So you see, a lawyer cannot do this. It has to be done by engineers and refined by the legal team on the legality of the contract. So if you want to write a very simple contract, these are all the elements that you must put within the contract. But you can write it in a very non-legal language, because nowadays, even legal language, they are also going to try to move into that not so legal, like using difficult bombastic word that nobody understands, you see? And yeah, they will go for active sentences as well, not so passive sentences, and something that for everybody to read and they agree. I mean, they can easily understand what they need to do. So yeah, I mean, contract are all progressing into that direction. But obviously, when you write contract, there are some legality, as in maybe the remedies, the offer, the acceptance, the elements of the contract, the legality of things that you still need lawyers to come into the. You can draft your own contract, honestly, you can, it's just a matter of, it's better to have that copy to be checked by a lawyer, for example, just to make sure that you've got all the legal final points in there that is safe for everybody. Yeah. So yeah, you can include safety, furnishing of safety plan and safety measure to ensure contractors practice in a safe manner. You can put that to provide with OSH facilities such as toilets, accommodations, or specific plan for or the safety equipment list, for example. So you can set that down. And if you set it down, then they have to do it for you. I mean, they have to do it for you. So it's in the contract. Not all these elements are in the contract, but some contracts are still older type of contracts, so they don't have it. But all the new age one will definitely cover things like that. They will cover the organization team of the contractor's supervision team. They will cover the resources as in the workmanship pool, the manpower pool of the people. They will cover labor law and ordinances. They will cover safety. They will cover what else? They will also cover the requirement. The certification, some form of certification of the supervision team or their workman team. The major ones are the skill. Only the skilled one, normally they will have some form of requirement. Like electrician, you probably have to have a certificate to be electrician. If you want to be a plumber, you usually have a certificate to be a plumber. And then welder, definitely you need to have a certificate to be welder. Roof, lightweight steel, IBS technician, all these must have specific certification. Man layers, definitely you need to have that. Bar bender sometimes. Yeah, they must be trained. They must go to school and be trained and come up. They probably have to go to technical schools to be trained and have a certificate or some form of short courses to train them. Yeah. So both needs to have that. And then even supervisory team, they will normally ask for BEM certification. Supervision team, they will probably ask for BEM supervisor certifications and all that, or they need to go for training and all that. So yeah, so these are the major things with workmen that they will cover in a contract. With material and machineries, you will look into a few aspects. Material and fixed material, what you bring to site, they will usually, you can state there that you need to have, the contractor needs to furnish the testing or the birth cert of the material, especially steel. So steel, normally they will look for the mill cert. The mill cert is the birth cert of the, birth cert, okay? Birth cert is like where this steel comes from. And there's numbering and the production date, and this factory producing, milling the steels are qualified. They may look for ISO certificates. They may look for concrete plant and also batching plant certificates to make sure that your concrete piles come from legal sources, not some not some illegal backyard industry, you know. And then later on can break one. Send for cerium testing, send for ISO testing. ISO don't test, sorry. Cerium testing or some form of government lab testing. So typically material that will be what is required. Okay. Machineries, usually they will ask for the operator punya license. We will ask for the contract will ask for material license, the operator's license, sorry, and the machineries licenses, meaning that the company if the company owns the machine, where are their rock tax, their, you know, saying that this is their machine, and that they pay duties and taxes, and they send the machine for yearly maintenance, or they send the machine for that tracking that they do every year. What is that organization? Can somebody remind me? You know how if you buy a new car, you must send it for this, you know, this. Get the permit one. I think they will send this to, I mean, like in Kuching, they send it to pending. You know, there's a place there that they will they will check the cars and check the machines to make sure that, you know, they are, you know, you are being issued. These are proper legal machines, you know, not something that you steal from some other sites and then take the part A and yeah, Puspacom. Yes, thank you. Oh dear, must be my brain is working too fast. I forgot what is it called. I just repeat. Can you believe it? Am I getting dementia here? Oh God, memory lapse. Okay. Yeah, so yeah, machineries, we will always look at the Puspacom checks and all that, you know, and do they have a legal license plate? Can they run on roads? If they cannot run on roads, they must have a tractor to pull it, you know. So we make sure that you have that it's all proper and, you know, legally. So you don't want your contractor to be you know, buying different parts of machines from different thieves, you know, like a syndicate that sells machines and then later on put together something that is not legal and then do your work on site, you know, so then you are actually breaking the law. So yeah, we will state that in a contract that it all must be from material and machinery must be from proper sources, especially material. We must know their suppliers origin. The origin of the material is very important. So in my career as engineers before, you know, I've got people stealing things from my side, you see, and then another contractor, like another area, suddenly another client from another side suddenly have their contractor sending in things that is having our certification on the material. So that is, if they cannot produce where they get this from, like the pipes or the mill cert, that means that material is actually probably stolen, or it could be illegal submarine kind of material. Submarine material means that is actually pay tax one, yeah. Duty, they didn't pay the duty one, so that is also illegal. Okay, so we cannot have that. Yeah, and material, sometimes we may want some testing report as well, like concrete, for example. We would want the cube test. For every batch that comes in, there must be cube tests, and we'll cover that in the testing part. So material testing are quite common. Talk about steel bars, we talk about lightweight steel, we talk about concrete. Normally we will send the batches of order, and then we will send it to site. We will do a test, like slump test, one of them, and then to do 5 or 6 test cubes to see that after curing it will stand for how many. Look at the strength of the block, go for testing, and then come back to testing report. Water quality testing, that is another testing, and all these report, it can be physical, it can be chemical testing, it can be quantity, it can be checking for defects, and just to make sure that you don't bring anything that is illegal, anything that is defective, anything that is not meeting the strength of the design or the performance that is stated in the design. So we make sure that if it's required, your project contract usually will cover that if any testing is required, you will proceed to do the test. And all materials will be complying. And if it's not complying, the client and their representative in the SO can reject those materials. Okay, so that is what usually would be. And the contractor needs to send it for testing and come back with a signed report and report by third party normally. That would be what is required by the contract. Okay, so exactly which testing is determined later on, okay, in the work method. In the contract, it will cover the rules with testing. So if required, it must be furnished. And then if it doesn't fulfill it doesn't comply to certain standards, there is the right for the client and the SO to reject. And with inspection, it's another thing. Inspection means that the client side and also the SO side, the superintendent officers, they can actually choose to inspect certain materials, certain work process, and they can ask to look at certain parts of the final product of the subcomponent and inspect it with different methods. Visual can be one of them, measurement can be one of them, testing can be one of them, or partial sectional testing can be one of them. So this type of inspection also is also covered in the contract. So this inspection, usually they will go together, or their writing will be very close to one another. It could be in the same close, or it could be the close next to one another. So inspection is when the major thing with inspection is they will make sure that in a contract that it's put there that the contractor must open up their door, meaning that because they have already possessed the site, so it's their site. So it means that not anybody can enter the site. So they must have this specific requirement that the SO representative and the SO and the client can anytime access the site. So access to site is one requirement that is put in a contract to make sure that these people are not barred at the gate of the site, that they cannot come in and look at the things or inspect, see? And there will always be time frame for inspection, meaning that if you want to come and do inspection, normally you have to inform ahead, saying that, we don't encourage like sudden popping up and then because then you're disturbing the workflow, you see? Normally, it's either you request them to come for inspection, okay, or what we call standing supervision. And after that, you must request, like, let's say 3 days earlier for your engineer to come, or your architect to come, or your SO and the representative to come and inspect certain works. You see, the inspection must become a do together. Suddenly, one night, one evening where everybody's go home, and then the SO just come in and do inspection. You can do that. You need to be professional here. So this inspection has to be done in a very fair manner, that there will be enough time given to both parties to prepare for you to come and do inspection. And it must be reasonable at a reasonable time. it also has to be quite clear what they are inspecting. Okay, and then it's not like saying that, oh, I let them know that I'm coming, then they will prepare. They will prepare to do a good job, but then you can choose to look not necessarily at what you're doing right now. You can always choose to look at other things, when you're doing the inspection, which is similar tasks. When you're talking about power caps, you don't have to look at that one power cap. You can look at 3, 4 different power caps or 5, 6 different power caps, you see. So it doesn't have to be that one power cap. And the main thing is it has to be reasonable, It has to be reasonable over reasonable time. The item must not be it must be like, unless you have very serious doubt about the quality, then you can ask for opening up. Opening up is a big thing. Opening up, inspection opening up, it's like, I don't trust you. You've done it, you've covered it up already underground. I want you to dig it out. So most contract clauses will have this opening up, and they will put under inspection. Okay. And to have that kind of inspection, it will usually means that there is something very suspicious going on. Okay? And then, I think if that suspicion is not reasonable, or it could be because of there are some testing report that is not very good, so you want to request for opening up, or that the contractor cover it up very soon without informing you to come and inspect. For example, say concreting. There is supposed to be people to inspect together or to supervise the pouring together. And then when you know that tomorrow morning there will be pouring, you don't inform the SO. And then you just pour, and everything you cover up. So does that mean, like, if that's the case, that particular action of that contractor is very suspicious. So due to very reasonable suspicion, you can actually request for opening up. And if it's opening up, you will always be dealing with another word that calls make good. So make good means that you found something not right. They have to make good. Okay? There will be a cost for testing and inspection. If it's written in the contract that specific testing is required, then it's paid by the contractor. If it's an additional test that is not industry standard or is not written in the contract and you want that testing to be done, it is part under the client's cost. Inspection is the same. Regular inspection, regular standing supervisions are not paid additionally. You're supposed is the job of the school and the team to actually come and do standing supervision and inspection. It is not supposed, you're not supposed to pay them to come. Yeah. Unless it's a night thing. Let's say if it's a late night supervision. Normally, if it's stated that late night, like OT supervision is paid by the contractor, then you have to pay for it. It's already in the contract. If it's already in the contract, then that means you've already priced it in. So you are supposed to pay it. If there are, for example, that particular person cannot come and do inspection, in the normal days, in the daytime where everybody's supposed to be working, he wants to come after 7 p.m. and he wants to be paid OT, then the contractor no need to pay him. Okay? Because that is his problem. Yeah. With making good and covering up, when you inspect, when you open up, when you want to do open up inspection, if it's not a reasonable thing, like for example, you didn't come to do the inspection and now you want people to open up, then it's supposed to be at the cost of the client. If it's dealing with design, if it's dealing with design issue, if it's dealing with the fault of the client, then the clients pay for it. But generally, if it's opening up due to reasonable suspicion, the contractor has to pay for it. Like for example, they cover up too early. For example, they didn't send in the material certification. These are problems with the contractor. And then when the client side or the SO side requests for opening up, then the cost of inspections and cost of opening up and the cost of making good will fall all under the contractors. The contract needs to be very clear in these sort of things. Testing and commissioning for a lot of projects is required, okay? And there will be acceptance testing and compliances testing. Compliance testing is more on certain limits is met. Acceptance usually means that it's a project acceptance, meaning that, you know, the whole pipeline, you accept it, that, you know, those testing are usually a lot more difficult. Compliance will usually be a little bit more softer, meaning that, you know, you are looking at one part, right? You're complying with a certain requirement. Yeah. You can use it interchangeably, but, you know, you can have it differently as well, the compliance and acceptance. Commissioning means that you have to run the system smoothly over a period of time. And in a contract, normally, even if it's not written in the contract itself, testing and commissioning is definitely something that must be done. That usually they will write there that it should be done before handing over, or the completion of the penultimate payment claim, or the CPC. You have to do commissioning, and how much time for commissioning, how to do the commissioning, is all written generally in the work method statement and the certificates. I mean, sorry, not the certificates, the specifications, okay, or the job scope and all that. These are the kind of things that complement your contract. So the contract says that work must be commissioned over a period of time, for example. And then that is automatically you have to refer, even though it doesn't say, please refer to the specification or the drawings or whatever, or the government standard for testing. They won't write it there, but it will be automatically cross-referenced to other parts of the contract document. That is very standard of any contract documents. You don't have to specify everything, but it has to be, goes without saying that as part of it, it are cross-referenced. The cross-references is not stated there, refer to what. But all the contract documents are tied in together. So if you can't find the information here, you must find it in the BQ. You must have find it. You can also find it in the drawings. If you can't find the drawings, it must be in the specification. They are all correlating with one another. So it will not be treated, because it's not stated exactly what is it in the contract stuff, does not mean that you don't have to do, or it doesn't apply to you. So the whole set of the contract documents are actually related to one another. That is the law of correlation between the documents. It's something you have to be very clear. Don't say that because it's not written there, then I don't have to do it. You know, it's not clearly written there. I don't know how to proceed. So how to proceed, how to do it, it has to be part of work method, it has to be part of the specification, it can be seen from the drawing. So you follow that accordingly. Okay. Then commissioning, you testing and commissioning are always the prelude. It's always the prelude to CPC. So it has to be done. Planning supervision and supervision are dealing with generally work that needs to have supervision, the supervision from all sides to be around, to witness the execution of the work. Those are standing supervision kind of work. Piling, usually, concreting, big mass concrete pouring will be part of standing supervision as well. A lot of piling work, bore micropiles will be standing supervision as well. Macintosh podcast can be standing supervision as well, should be standing supervision as well. So what else? And anything from other industry that you need to have everybody there to witness the execution. Any example? Any other example?
Piling works?
Piling works, yeah. Pilings work, yeah. We mentioned that just now.
Oh.
Piling work, like I said, the actual piling, the yeah, definitely pardon, sorry, not ball boring, ball piles, RC piles, yeah, those are always under standing supervision very clearly. Yeah. It has to be both side. Both side representative must be there to witness the whole process. Big mass concreting definitely will be like you're pouring a very big floor area. Those sort of things will also be under standing supervision.
Premix works.
Premix work, yeah, premix work, yes.
Beam launching.
Sorry?
Girder beam launching.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so you guys get the gist of what is in standing supervision. Anything in the manufacturing or mechanical? Any mechanical engineers and electrical engineers? Maybe to install certain parts, you need to have certain standing supervision, isn't it? For waterworks, definitely the connection work will need standing supervision. Testing work normally need inspection, not standing supervision, meaning that after the pasang of the testing, pumping up to like 10 bars, 9 bars, you need standing supervision. Then after that, you leave the pressure, come back next day or 24 hours to inspect, but you don't have to be there all the time. Yeah. Mechanical, anything, chemical, anything like maybe you do concrete pouring, water quality testing, need standing supervision.
PCB shutdown.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So yes, sort of like shutdowns and all that. Need some both sides to be there. So standing supervision are always closed. It will not in any engineering contract. It will always be there. Okay. So it will state that standing supervision will require what is the level, what is the nature of the supervision, and how much you who is supposed to be there, and what are the time that you need, the lead time that you need to give to the other party when you want to supervise do the standing supervision. It can be it can be both sides. It can be informed between the contractor to the SO, or the SO can specify that they want to see the concreting done when, and they will be there to see it. Also can, yeah, the work to be done. So they can plan ahead and confirm on the date of standing supervision. That is also can be done. So they will say that if the standing supervision, if you don't fulfill standing supervision, this is always correlate with make good and open up. Meaning that if I'm not there, you cannot do the work. Suppose you can't even do the work if I'm not there. So if I'm the SO and this is understanding supervision work, and if I don't come, you cannot pour. If I don't come, you cannot premix. If I don't come, you cannot launch the girder. If I don't come, you cannot sink the submarine pipe. It must be there. But this is very dangerous also, because if you get very irresponsible SO, they don't come, and that means a whole team of people are waiting for them, and the last minute don't come. If you have people like that, then it can be very, very dreadful for the contractors as well. So I would say a lot of advanced warning is required, and a lot of advanced planning is required when it comes to standing supervision. And both sides need to sign the documents to say that they have already witnessed the supervision. And if it's not done, let's say the one side don't come and the other side continue to do the work because the concrete is already here, you cannot pour in the drain, so you go with it. Maybe what we can do is to be smart. You have to use nowadays got camera on the phone. Just do the videoing, just to protect your own ass in that way, these are the things that we can do to help ourselves in a way, with technology sometimes, to prevent any contractual issues later on. So we must also show proof that we have informed many times. We've already come to the site and tell them, please do this, and then you will be asking to come and they don't come, and then you go ahead and do the job. And next day tomorrow he comes, I want you to open up. Then this is going to be a big issue. See, so if the work is proven done because the the SO side did not send the people, then the cost of opening up will be under the client. Okay, if the work is not properly done, and the cost of opening up is there, then it's going to be paid by the contractors if it's found effective. Okay. So it's about both side monitoring. So supervision, opening up and make good. So we've covered this already. And early information facts finding is also in some contracts to make sure that you go and facts find first. So it will be written there, a very small clause written there that says that you have to know your site, you have to carry out site condition survey, you carry out study on the site. Even though they didn't specify what sort of studies, the contractor should do their very best to find out as much as they can before they commit. Or the consultant should themselves, also the designer, find out as much as they can before they complete the design. Yeah, because with this clause already in there, even though it's impossible maybe to do a ball lock, I understand that in West Malaysia, most development project, we will have engineers would request the developer, the developer to actually do bollock or some form of ground condition report first before they can do the design. That is actually fantastic practice that Sarawakians don't practice. Yeah. So if we have that condition there, just because you've written out in the contract that you need to do some preliminary site studies, it's very dangerous that, when it turns out to be not good, then they fall back to that clause and say, I've already told you to do your own studies. Even though you haven't even win the project, there's no way you're going to spend like $30,000 on a topography survey with a bore lock test. You see, I mean, it doesn't make sense. So normally we will compile a site visit. If responsible developer, they will get the contractors to come and do a site visit. A site look into the different levels, the ground conditions, the trees and the plantations and all that, the environment and all that, to see, to gauge whether what sort of soil, how bad the conditions is, how good the conditions is, the height of the soil, any nearby work that needs retaining wall, any cliff, any valleys, and that sort of thing. So we will do a site walkabout, and it is expected of contractor to do that. Okay, because most contract would write that to ask them to do a preliminary site study, but the definition of the preliminary site study is not very complete, even though it can be not even stated in any of the documents. So I think as contractor, your job is to find out what kind of study. So you can request for site walkabout. You can request client to do a site walkabout. I think that is reasonable. Okay. Because otherwise, that can really kill you, because it's already stated there that you need to do a site condition study, and then yet later you do it, but you cannot do in depth. But then the conditions later is really bad, and then you ask for a VO, and they say that they cannot give you because you didn't go and check the site. You didn't do the necessary. But it's not true, is it? It's not reasonable. Yeah. Sufficient lines packed and all that. This is about setting up. Setting up is usually covering like boundary set up, route set up and all that. And this is supposed to be done by contractor with proper licensed surveyors. And that is what we stated in the contract, because you do not want to encroach into other people's land. And this is very common as well to have this setting up compiled later on for your as-built drawings as well. All right. Okay, there will be instructions and variations. Instructions is, I will cover instructions. How much else do I have to cover? Oh yeah, no more. This is the last bit. Okay. The back bit, I always give you some clauses that are related so that you have an idea. These are the type of clauses that will affect quality aspects of the project actually. Again, all these are in conjunctions with the other documents. It's not independent. A contract document is not independent of its own. None of the documents are independent of its own. Yeah. So instructions is dealing with if the contractor is supposed to perform certain method or certain work that is not within his original plan or the original requirement of him, then specific instructions needs to be given. And SI is a very, very serious thing. With a proper, you only can execute the changes all after the SI is being issued, the site instructions is being issued, or any instructions is being issued. And that issuance must not be verbal. It has to be proper in writing. It has to be an honest, reasonable instructions. And a lot of designers, sometimes they don't want to furnish the instructions because the design is the problem. And when they furnish the instructions, it's like trying to tell, it will be made known to everybody that his design is a problem. But that is not ethical. You know, when there is a design problem, you have to admit that there is a design problem, and then you need changes, because design cannot be perfect. We have to realize that. No design, a designer who got it into his head that his design can be perfect is really very sick. He needs to see a doctor. Something's wrong with his brain. Okay, you cannot have a perfect design, no matter how much of testing you do, how much of preliminary planning that you do. You are expected to have some non-compliances with it. So this site is so big, ground conditions is so big, you know, and then they're all filled with plants. Sometimes they're filled with different conditions. They cover up with different things. It's possible, you know. I have site that here I bore down. It's perfect normal soil, but then, you know, just like 1 kilometer down the road, you know, which is the same site, I have a whole bunch of rocks under there. Like normal polywood cannot work. So you can tell me if I mean, there's nothing to be shameful about that, you see. Who can expect that, you see? So be reasonable. Issue proper instructions when it comes to design problem. If it's a proper non-compliances by the contractor, you also issue non-compliance, ask them to make good, ask them to do it. That is also instructions, is at their own cost. But you issue that, you know, you inform them that you must make good. Yeah, that is also instructions. So if there's only instructions because the client wants to learn changes, you issue the instructions. Or when the site conditions is not a design problem, but the site condition doesn't allow the work to move forward in that specific manner, then you need to change. But if there is if there's some non-compliance from the contractor, you ask for verification. You ask for enhancement of the power cut, for example. You know, and is that a VO? Some instructions will turn out to be variation order because it involves changes and it involves is compensable. If the client wants additional, if the clients want deduction, that one is definitely compensable. If it's a design problem, that one is definitely compensable. If it's about contractors' non-compliances, due to non-compliances, then that is not compensable. It's a non-compensable cost. Same goes with time as well. So non-compensable costs and non-compensable losses and compensable losses is actually pretty much similar with compensable and non-compensable time sketch. On the EOT as a reason for delays, right? So instructions must come after a verbal one that is being given. You can also write it in a site daily record and signed by both parties. The proper professional way is to furnish within 7 days a proper instructions, and then if there's any cost, quality, or time implication, the contractor needs to write back and inform that with this instruction there will be this sort of implication, and if it will involve a change order that is compensable, then we will have a VO that can get the VO rating. Yeah. If it's in EOT, then we have to get the application of EOT and the assessment of EOT ready as well, as soon as possible. Yeah, and then proceed with the work. If it's already on the verge of instructions, the instructions is being furnished, even though the EOT and also the change order formal document is not here, you can proceed with the work if the instructions is here already. But better you proceed after you provide them with information on the potential changes in cost or the changes in time. you must provide them with that and get some form of agreement on that. Even if the formal documents comes late, but you're already informed and there is some verbal confirmation on that, that is not so bad. That should be all right normally to proceed with the work to save time. But the best way, of course, is the more professional way for everybody, of course, will be change order comes or EOT comes and then you do the work. But most of the time, that is not practicable because it may take time, 2 weeks time, 3 weeks time, and then, oh, God, gonna stop for 3 weeks just to get this document ready. But instructions must be there. That is the minimum standard that must be met for you to proceed with any change in the works, okay, or material, or machineries, or workmanship. Okay, so yeah, I will cover VOs and also I will cover VOs and calculations of VOs and all that next time in the next session. We still have about 15 minutes. Do you have a next class later?
Yes, doctor.
Oh, you have a next class, huh? Okay. I want to spend some time. Yeah, so we only have 15 minutes or so for you to log off my class. Anything you want to ask about the question here? You leave it, you read through it and sink it in first. Let's not ask questions here first. Let's talk about your assignment. How do you find your assignment? Have you read through your assignments? There will be 4 essays that you need to write, and each essay will be about maybe 5 pages, 5 to 6 to 8 pages maximum. And then you're supposed to tackle one issue based on the contract that you have. It can be your own organization contract. You can use your client's contract if you are contractors. You can use your JKR contract. You can use PWD contract. The federal contract is fine as long as you have a contract document. If it's a manufacturing document, it's also okay. It's fine as well. Yeah, but you cover one each. Like you have to cover them in 4 areas. One is a change in scope of work. One is the time. One is the payment. One is the quality issue. But how does your contract deal with it? Did anybody try out and want to show me? Eh? No one have any question on the assignment nah? Haven't started lah.
Doctor, for the case study one, this I was planning to say it's I'm not sure whether this is considered as a side possession issues or not, but it's something like, can I share
Okay.
my one? Yeah. So basically, it's about this project here,
Yep.
and then this is the introduction part lah. Then a bit of the background of the project.
Mm.
So, and then this is about the contract use. And then this is the work scope and where's the issue? Okay, yeah, this is the issue lah. Which is a lead site possession, and then this actually this project is a school project which is supposed to be constructed on existing school site, yeah.
Yep.
So it's during the planning stage and during the we're preparing this tender, the consultant already had an agreement with the school saying that the school will have to evacuate the existing teachers' quarter. Okay, because the existing teacher quarter will be demolished and then the new building will build on
Okay.
that area. Yeah. However, when the project started, the school suddenly said, "Oh, we cannot. You cannot demolish our existing teachers quarter yet because our teachers don't have other places to stay." Because when they were like planning for this project, there's only like 5 or 6 teachers there, and then suddenly when the project start, they increase their staff, the number of staff. That's why they cannot evacuate the quarters lah. So therefore, does that consider as like side the delay from client to hand over the site to the contractor?
Sure. Because definitely because yeah. So what you need to do with this particular assignment is you need to have like, I mean, let's say if you guys are doing one project only, and then that applies to 4 different issues, that's fine. You know, then you only need to describe the project background one time. Okay. So in your report, you need to describe the project description, the project background, and then after that you need to describe the issue. So you know, where is the project? Everything is already described in the project background. But then there will be a second section that you need to describe the issue. What is the issue? And even though I put down there delay or site possession, if anyone of you don't have that kind of issues with anything in your hands at the moment, you can always change it to something else. You can talk to me. Or I'm also okay if you change it to some other issues that causes the delay. It's fine also. Then you describe the issue like what you described to me. Maybe you can use it as an event timeline. Okay.
So you can include the like time slice or like the chronology in the case study as well.
Correct. The chronological of things of the event, you know, and then this is the issues. This will describe the issues well, so marks will be given to that. And then then the next part is describe that particular contractual issues. Like let's say if you site possession issue, you must understand what is site possession issue. I want to see you guys having 1 or 2 short paragraph about that particular issue. Okay, like it's a site possession issue, or it's a material delay issues, you know, for example, or it's dealing with this is the issues dealing with extension of time and delays, for example. Okay.
Yeah, because for this my case, it's not the entire site unable to give to contractor. I mean, the contractor still can start. It's just that half of the site is like unable to give to the contractor. Yeah.
Yeah. So that one
But
is
it's still consider as a site possession issue.
because they can always talk about the effect that it will have, because we cannot fully mobilize, you see. So
Yeah,
either,
true, yeah.
either you can actually give them a sectional, you can give a sectional possession and then later on take over sectional part, but you must be very clear of how you build up the sectional part, you see. So then you can bring in that as a solution as well. So then once you describe the issues, what is site possession, and then after that you follow on and talk about how your contract, what are the clauses in your contract that covers these sort of issues, you see? And then how would you deal with it? How would you deal with it? Or your contract team, how would you deal with it? Based on the contract documents or based on if the contract documents don't have it, you can always propose how you can deal with it. I mean, it'll be interesting. It doesn't have to be exactly what is in the contract. I also want to see the way that you manage the project, see your know-how, following contract, yet having some form of human touch of management in it, you see. So I think that would be a very good case say if you can write like that. But if you write, going to be like, okay, these are the issues, these are the contract clauses, and this is how the contract says we should deal with it to stop. I mean, these are the kind of reports that can actually pass you, and you will do okay, maybe get a B kind of thing, but you want to get an A or super A, you need to have a bit of understanding. Your write-up needs to be able to project that sort of all-rounded view of your contract.
Okay, so I'm heading to the right way lah, Doctor.
Right way.
I scared I salah jalan, sesat nanti.
No, it's okay. But you break it up into proper sections. So I can see that yours is everything all right up like that.
Oh yeah. That's just a draft. I'm just like preparing for a draft, and then I'm gonna sort it out later.
Yeah. So next week maybe you can show me your first issue finished. Write up the first issue finished. Then I can read through it for you. I'll take maybe half an hour. If you
All right. Okay.
fast. All right.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you. Anyone else? Good. Quiet. You can write. You can write from your own industry perspective. It's fine. It's completely fine. Last year we had people writing from their own company's perspective as well, like their manufacturing. Yeah. Different case different issues that we have here. You have different case study is fine. You can have one project for two, so you got two projects, but each time you need to describe the project lah. You can have 4 different projects dealing with 4 different issues, but your project background will have to change lah. Huh? Alright, so if there's nothing else, we will call it a day. Yep. And then I'll see you guys next week. Same link, okay? And email me if you want to. You can email me your assignment. I can comment through the email if I need. If you're a bit shy in showing your assignments, yeah. But don't leave until last minute, my dear friends, huh? And you are welcome to use similar issues, but dealing with the same problem, but similar issues. Like the first one is on delays, you see, EOT delays. So I want to see if it's other things that is, maybe if you say inclement weather or flooding or natural disaster, I'm happy to see case studies like that as well. It doesn't have to be possession of site, okay? Or like maybe for the manufacturing people, the materials people, maybe you want to deal with raw material delays or cost overrun or whatever, is also fine. Yeah. Juntak, you all okay or not, Juntak? Yeah, I'm asking whether I am putting up my camera. Can you all hear me? Can you all still hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
doctor.
Why do I say I want to put on my camera? Not because I want to show you my face, because I feel like I've been talking here and I'm not sure whether you think that Dr. Ting over there is a ghost or something, you know. So yeah, I'm just want to say bye-bye to you all face to face. Yeah. And yeah, and anything, if no, then you all can move out lah, huh?
Thank you, Prof.
Okay, thank you, Dr.
Yep.
Ting.
Thank you,
Junta, you
doctor.
okay? Because you're from the manufacturing, yeah, people. So I'm just wondering if you're okay.
Yes. Just follow the flow.
Show us your show us your work next week lah, huh?
All right.
Okay. Bye.
Yeah, thank you, doctor. Bye bye.
See you. Thank you, Nickman. Hey, I heard that you're not doing your. Hey, he's out already. Okay. Bye. Have a good weekend.